Hey guys, what is up? Today I'm going to be talking you through some of the differences between Bookshark's kindergarten, which is level A, and Memoria Press's kindergarten. So first off, I want to begin by saying the Bookshark that we did the most recently was in 2019, and so some things have changed. So I want to start off with that. So this is what it looks like now. There have been some changes with Bookshark in general, but the specific changes since we have done it are they've added Heartwood Hotel, they've added Anna Hibiscus, they have added a couple of different science books. Most notably, they now have more picture books, and they've done a couple different things in terms of manipulatives, but overall the core is still pretty similar. So I'll just show you like what's included now. These are the main history books, the read alouds, and then there's some stuff with the readers, math. You can choose math. You see, I think you can also choose Saxon, handwriting, and these are the science books. And so just for comparison, this is a snapshot from the Wayback Machine, which if you're not familiar with it, it's a website that can show you the same website years before if the web crawler has captured it. So this is from 2020. We purchased in 2019. So this one's also a little bit different, but you can see the history books are pretty similar. The read alouds are pretty similar. The main difference is they have the language arts organized differently, just in terms of display. And then the science here is probably the biggest difference. You have only one of those DK first readers, and you have Discover and Do, and then Weather. So much less books than here. This is the Science Now, Science Then. And then the handwriting then is, I think, comparable. Comparable to now. Okay, so that I wanted to start off with that because there are some things that are a little bit different than what I'm going to be having to say about this version of kindergarten, and it looks differently. So this is the cover that it had back then for the science, which was biology, botany, and physics. This was the history cover, Intro to World Cultures, which I think is still pretty much the same. And then language arts. These are just so adorable. I love them. And you have a world map. And so if you're not familiar with Bookshark, it is a fully planned out, fully scheduled, comprehensive curriculum. They have all these different levels. They now have, I think, 2 or 3 high school levels. Their sister company of Sunlight, which is a Christian version of this curriculum with a lot of overlap, but this is in theory secular. There's debate online about whether it counts as secular or not. It's secular enough for me, but there are occasionally problematic texts or things that come up, but Bookshark is an approved vendor for almost every charter school I've ever heard of. So the way it works is you can buy these packages separately, first by subject, or you can buy them in that big package I just showed you. But even if you buy one package, each subject is on a separate schedule layout. So the way that it works is you say, let's start with science. So you get the Usborne Children's Encyclopedia, which is this book for day 1, and you go to page 8 to 9. And you're learning about our planet. So that's day 1. And then you have an activity sheet. So we have used the activity sheet. So I do not have it, but I have the teacher's version, which I'll show you right here. So this is what the activity guide looks like. And so it says how many continents are there, stuff like that. Answer these questions. And why is a day 24 hours long? And so you can see here it says, as the Earth travels, it takes 24 hours. So this is matching up to there. Then you're discussing this. So this is only question 1 and 2 are the first 2 days, and then so on and so forth. So this worksheet is an 8.5 by 10, and that's what you would be working on for the first day. So that would be your science for the first day. And it's getting cut off because I have too many things in the frame, but you have instructions that are written to you to discuss This is like an intro, and then there's also just like parent coaching and other things. So that's your science for day one. And then you have your history schedule. So this is actually the same book, which is pretty convenient, and it's the back of it. So what is it? 114. 114. So this is the first history page. And so as you can see, some people accuse Bookshark of not being faith neutral or not being secular, but here you are literally teaching evolution. So I don't really understand where those people are coming from, but I just wanted to give you guys an overview. So the main difference between history and science, and this is one of my things that I wish Bookshark would do differently, is that there's no activity pages for history. So you read that, and that's kind of it. And there are discussion questions here that you can do with your kids. Again, you say, what did Tyrannosaurus Rex eat? How do we know? But why isn't there a worksheet? I don't know. I really wish there was, because I feel like this would be a lot easier to implement, especially with charter schools and things like that. One thing I will say is when they're older, like in levels 5 and 6, 5, 6, 7, there are other things they can do. So level 5 is Eastern Hemisphere. It's not called 5, it's called F, I think. Now they changed it from numbers to letters. That's the Eastern Hemisphere, so there's map work and there's the whole Eastern Hemisphere pages and things to do. And then in 6th and 7th, they have lap books, which are amazing. And I've posted a video either here on my Instagram of a completed one of those if you want to see that. So that was great. There are some activities for this level too. There's like a hands-on history kit, but in terms of daily practice, that's just one of the things that I am frustrated with that doesn't exist for this level. So just pointing that out. And history is integrated with reading aloud language arts. So I think it's called Reading Through History. So then you read chapter 1 from the Boxcar Children, and then you read page 7 from The Llama Who Had No Pajama. This is the poetry book. And then there's also a Mother Goose book. And then you have some other little assignments. And then after that, we have the language arts. And so here's the plan here. So you start with the F pages, which I printed out because we don't have them. These are available on their website under the sample to print out. And so you're working on the F sound. So this is the first activity page. And I think there's 2 pages that you do for this week. So these are the F pages. You can get a sense of that. This says week 1 and week 2. So maybe that's all. Sorry. So you do that worksheet, and then you have my first picture dictionary. I forgot to pull this out. It's a dictionary, and it has like all these different words with the letter F, like on the F page. Self-explanatory. And then Explode the Code, getting ready for the code. Highly recommend that. It's a great program. And then you also have handwriting scheduled. And so then copy work, that's an assignment that is going to be in your parent page. And it says to find weekly copywork passages printed on the activity sheets after the notes. Have your child trace the words on the page and then write them. Oh, that's the bottom of this page. So this is additional handwriting. So that is like week 1 of kindergarten. That is how it works. I will show you the scope and sequence of the language arts since we're there. So you have, and this is also on their website, you have the letter that you're going over, you have the creative expression aspect of that, and then the activities that you're doing. So these activities are going to be found in the parent guide. And then that is the language arts for Bookshark. Then we'll look at the science. So this is the scope and sequence of the weekly subjects for science. So this has changed, definitely. I showed you guys there's all these different science books now. So some of it's going to be the same because there are a couple of the books in common, but this has changed after I think they incorporated the NGSS science standards. I don't know what G stands for. They changed their science on every level. So that's probably why this has become more differentiated. And then we have the history scope and sequence for Bookshark. One thing that you'll notice is that, and by the way, this is probably, or no, I printed this. So what I just said makes no sense. This is the current science scope and sequence. I printed it out right now. The one that's in this binder is what's outdated. Duh. This is the current one. This is the current language arts one. And this is the current history one. So one thing you'll notice if you look through this is that a lot of the topics are focusing on North America and Europe. That was one of my frustrations with the Bookshark history, especially this level through 5th grade, is there's a very Eurocentric perspective. I don't think that that's necessarily an intentional move by them. I think it's just a coincidence. And a lot of North American, public school content is the same. You don't cover ancient history, world history until 6th grade. So K through 5th is going to be like American and European history. Anyway, and the 2 history books you use, like I said, is mostly the Usborne Children's Encyclopedia, and then you have the Story of Exploration. So there is a little bit outside of Europe, but it's not very much. This is the table of contents. And this book's pretty, interesting. Has some the cool layout and everything, but that's the main core. And then you also do, what book is it? I'm looking at the page. So then you're also doing for history, Johnny Appleseed, Wild Places, Living Long Ago, and Out of Darkness, which is about Louis Braille. Great book. My son really liked it. And that's your history. So if I had one critique to say, it would be, I feel that they could take what they did with their science and incorporated a lot more of these different picture books, which I'll just go ahead and show you right now. The history, I feel like, could really just be more expansive, I guess. Because like if you look at science, it's like they've got all these different picture books. They've got a Gail Gibbons book, Magic School Bus, Forces Make Things Move. So that's the one thing I would recommend if anyone was asking me my opinion. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is the read aloud books. So these are pretty traditional in terms of both being classics and also being like longer chapter books to read aloud. And these haven't changed that much over the last 5 years or so. There's a lot of, these are common across different programs. They did add in Heartwood Hotel, which is great. And I think that's the main one that they added that's new. So, one thing to say is that if you buy Bookshark, and this is actually another positive, is if you buy Bookshark now, you will be able to use it with subsequent students and there won't be that much change. So that's a positive. I love the format of Bookshark. It is so easy to just flip open your instructor guide and you just pop out the worksheets for the day and know exactly what you're going to do. There's also lots of parental support, which is especially great when you get to the older levels, but it works really good. And I think especially if you're just starting to homeschool in kindergarten and you really want a more structured, planned for you, hand-holding type of curriculum, I think it's a really good option. And the one thing that I'm not showing right now, aside from a lot of the literature, because I just didn't have an opportunity to dig it all out, is there's a lot of manipulatives and hands-on things and a science kit and all that. So definitely look on the Bookshark website to see everything that's included, because that's another strong suit. It's not just like worksheets and paper and everything. So hopefully that gives you guys a good idea of what the Bookshark kindergarten is like. Next, I would like to move on to Memoria Press. So I'm going to be showing you the version that's available on the Memoria Press website, because if you go on the charter website, they don't have pictures like this where everything is in the frame. I'm sure that will probably come eventually, but right now it's just individual items listed. So the most important thing for you to get if you're going to be doing Memoria Press Kindergarten is the curriculum manual. Why is that? Because that is your instructor guide. That's going to tell you what you're doing. This is the charter version, so that's why it's a different color. And it's pretty similar to Bookshark. One thing I really like about the Memoria Press instructor guides is it gives you a checklist of all of the materials that you should have. This also makes it easier if you're buying things secondhand or from friends or what have you, or the library, then you'll know which things you need to get. And then there's like teaching tips, overview stuff, and there's a sample on their website, but I'm not showing you because I didn't have time to look and see what was included or not. Here they have a sample schedule for you. So you can see it's like a 4-hour schedule if you're adhering exactly to it. And then I just want to show you the first overview. This is your week. So your first week of kindergarten, if you're doing Memoria Press, let me try to zoom out. Hold on. It's not letting me. There we go. It is by subject. And you have here's Monday. So it's our first day of kindergarten. We're going to start out with kindergarten morning work. It says see teaching guidelines, then recitation, which is in the appendix. Also important if you want to do the secular version, you have to get the charter version of this because the recitation, I believe the regular Memoria Press version is Bible verses and scripture and passages, whereas if you get the charter version, it's things like the Pledge of Allegiance or cardinal directions, things like that. So I'm not sure about what the regular Memoria Press version is, but I'm just telling you, I'm pretty sure that has Christian content in it. Anyway, calendar time, this is described, I think, in the back of this book. I've had a discussion about that on Facebook, like where do you find it? And you've got your first start reading, your phonics flashcards. If you haven't seen my kindergarten review, see it. Those are important, even though they're very overwhelming. Your phonics supplemental workbook, manuscript practice. You talk about pencil grip, copybook, your memory work here. And then here's your read aloud book for the week. So one thing to know is that in Memoria Press, there's 2 different types of enrichment. One is read aloud books and the other one is science and social studies. And so there's also a craft that ties into the read aloud book for the week. And there's an art piece for the week and a music piece for the week. And then you are doing a related poem, and your science and social studies books are tied in. So you're reading A Tree is Great, which, by the way, is a PJ Library book, if any of you are Jewish and watching this. And then you have I Can Name 50 Trees Today and A Tree is a Plant. So that's 3 picture books for the week, plus music, plus a craft, plus art study. So I'll go ahead and start showing you some of those materials. What I was showing you before is the core, and I'm going to show you those books just briefly. The math is by Rod and Staff. We did not use that. We did Saxon, and we are now moving beyond the page. And then this is the Bible study if you're doing the Memoria Press version. Other than that, I'm pretty sure every single thing here, except for the manners, which aren't Christian but are morality kind of related concepts. Everything here is available on the charter website, I'm pretty sure. So the difference between kind of Bookshark and Memoria Press is you have the option to just do the core, which would be like phonics, math, writing, those type of things, and you don't have to do the enrichment or read alouds. They're sold, everything's sold separately. The core of your work in kindergarten is really phonics, and they have an excellent program. In my opinion, it's advanced. I've taught 5 kids to learn how to read, and this was a very rigorous, challenging program. So you do work as scheduled, which I just showed you guys in the lesson plan book. You have a phonics page, and when the student becomes more fluent, then you go into these first start reading books, which they are Memoria Press books versus having a separate brand. And they follow these very rigorous and what's the word when it builds on itself, phonics plan. So there's I think there's 5 of these actually, although E might be in first grade. And you have, this book is like the classical phonics lesson. So it's all in your lesson plan. Like, how do you do it? What do I read? What do I say? This is one of the books that you use to teach from. And then this is probably the most important book for kindergarten in terms of your teaching, because it tells you exactly what to do. It makes it so easy. You will be able to teach your kid reading with confidence if you've never done it before. It gives you the lesson plans by book, and you could see there's like extensive teaching lessons. And there's also streaming support available if you still feel like you want another helping hand. But this book really is super important and super helpful, and I highly recommend don't skimp on this. So this is, and then there's one other one. This is supplemental work. So if you've already done your first start reading, then you get in here, and it's all related. So this is all, you've done the A and the M. Then this one is color the pictures that start with the A sound. So you got astronaut, axe, alligator, apple, and these are all taught in your lesson. So it's not like different pictures in each letter. It's like you've already done all these A sounds. It's not like a new A sound. So this is supplemental work, which is great extra practice. And again, hopefully I'm not being too duplicative of my review. Then you have morning work, which is like cutting and pasting and writing. Actually, let's see. We actually didn't do this one because I couldn't. I did actually. Just kidding. See, they're all gone. So this is an example of morning work. And it tells you when to do which page so that it makes sense. And then you have the cut and paste book, which is also reinforcing the same, like this is the J page. So it's when you're doing J, you're doing this one. This one book I couldn't figure out. So I don't know what you're supposed to do with this one. I bought it and it was kind of like we didn't really use it. And then you have scheduled manuscript practice, which I guess would be like the handwriting. If I had it to do over again, I probably would have gone with handwriting without tears, because this feels advanced to me in terms of if you're just starting out kindergarten. If you're just starting out kindergarten, this is kind of a lot to write. I don't know. It probably depends on the child. And then I bought this numbers book. I don't know when you're supposed to do this because I don't recall it being scheduled. But it's a really sweet math book for kindergarten. It's kind of similar to the Early Bird Singapore in terms of like using a lot of pictures and things. But I really liked it, and I would recommend getting it if you just want a little math book to have on hand. And then another part of the kindergarten that's scheduled that I would recommend if you're wanting to teach character is Myself and Others. This is scheduled in the lesson plans. So, for example, you start with Manner of the Week, and it tells you, like, you have weekly lesson plans just for this. And this is the poster that you can buy, or there's little cards or things. But I really like this tool, and I feel like you can use it time and again, especially if you have different kids that you're going through it with. This is from the regular Memoria Press website, so it is possible that there's some Christianity creeping in there, but none that I can recall specifically. It's just kind of generic moral values. And then another book that you'll get if you want is the Music Enrichment, and this can be used for 3 years, so kindergarten, first and second. And this is, if you want to do the enrichment, I would get it because I'll show you one of the pages. It tells you what to listen to, and they have this playlist on their website, and it tells you these different discussion questions, and then it has the same thing. So this is for the music, and then in the enrichment guide, which is right here, it gives you discussion questions for the art piece, which I didn't pull, but you could probably find stuff online. So I'll just show you one page of this. You can find samples of all of these things online, by the way. So this is Remember a Tree is Nice. You have an overview, you have author and illustrator information, you have pre-reading questions, you have vocabulary questions, and then you have, this is one of my favorite things, extensive picture review and comprehension questions for the picture book. And then you have some extension resources. And what I was talking about was the art. So I'll show you that. So this is how they incorporate the history and culture and science. So for example, you can do a painting of a tree for science. Then you have your art piece for the week. So it gives you background about the artist, discussion of the painting. It gives you information about the music, and then about the poetry. So that is the short of that. There's also a craft book. I don't know if I grabbed it, but you do different crafts like these two I have here. So this was about like, what is the purpose of a lighthouse? It's to guide the way through fog. And this was, sorry, that was sideways like this. Hopefully I'm showing you guys these the proper orientation. So I'm standing sideways. This was like a seashore crab or whatever, I don't remember, it was last year, but you cut this out and paste it, and it was related to whatever book we were reading. And then what I feel like is one of the biggest strengths of Memoria Press for kindergarten, first grade, second grade is the use of picture books. And so they like using these Let's Read and Find Out science books. And then we have Gail Gibbons, different classics, but they also have more contemporary books. So this is just some of the books that are scheduled. If you've watched my other videos, I talk more about these. If you want to see more books, I don't have all of them here because I wouldn't be able to fit them. This is actually a scheduled phonics book that got in there. If you want to see more about the different picture books that are included, watch my kindergarten review, or some of the hauls I have. This is a more contemporary book that they've included. One of the things that I've seen them do is starting to include more contemporary titles and more from different authors, not only books that are, older classics. And this is the science book for that first week. And this I think I just threw in here. I don't know if this is a book, but the science and history are integrated. They try and have it line up with the read aloud for the week. I just found the crafts book. So let's see if I could find, for example, one of the ones that we're talking about. So here we go. Here's the tree is nice. Here's the craft project for the first week. So when I first bought the curriculum, I didn't buy the crafts book, but I feel like if you want to actually have your kids doing these hands-on activities, don't pass it up. You can find these in the buy sell trade group on Facebook. Also, somebody sells kits in there in the regular Memoria Press group with all of the supplies. So that's awesome. So how does it compare to Bookshark? This is the scope and sequence that we have for language arts. It's kind of harder to compare since it's not a chart. It's like narrated. It just tells you basically what each thing is teaching you. And this is for the Rodden Press math, history. So this is kind of doesn't cover everything that you're doing because the enrichment and read aloud set really covers a lot of different things, and you can really easily expand that. The fine arts and poetry. So you do have, I don't think I showed you guys this. A child's book of poems is where you're going to get your poems from, and your animals book. You're going to get more arts history, definitely, from Memoria Press because it is a classical, a true classical curriculum. So that's something that I don't think Bookshark offers currently in its core curriculum. You're going to get very strong phonics instruction. The whole program, if you listen to their podcast, they have many episodes where they just talk about incremental approach to phonics and why that's so important. There is some phonics instruction in Bookshark, like they use Explode the Code and they use these phonetic worksheets, and they do have readers and those other tools. So it's not like you're not getting anything. There's definitely a solid program. But I just feel that Memoria Press really, it's like a boot camp for the whole year long of phonics. And what's the result? I did notice that once phonics started making sense to my daughter, she became a strong reader pretty quickly. That being said, when I was doing Bookshark with my son, he also became a very strong reader quickly, but it was more of an organic experience rather than necessarily instruction based, if that makes sense. And I did have to do some supplementation with my daughter when we did Memoria Press because it was too advanced for her. She wasn't immediately memorizing these phonetic rules after 1 week. We had to revisit them. We had to use outside resources. Reading Eggs was one that we used the worksheets from, for example, to really drill those concepts. Bookshark is great if you want to do like the more traditional read aloud where you're reading from the same book for a longer period of time. It's also stronger if you want to do a traditional approach to history in terms of we're reading about this time period, then we move to the next thing, and have more of like an easier to follow timeline. Whereas with Memoria Press, you're not really doing that as much. You're kind of just gleaning social studies from the things that you're reading, like you're reading about a community or you're reading about these children in Roxaboxen. In terms of being more engaging, I did feel like the Bookshark reading assignments are longer. And if you don't have a child that can sit and pay attention for a long period of time, that's going to be a challenge versus if you read a short read aloud book to your child, then they only have to have, the attention span for a shorter period of time. The science from Bookshark is very advanced. You're reading about straightforward science, and then your your child is answering questions about science that I'd say I felt was at least at a first grade level, which is positive in terms of if you have a child that is able to comprehend these more complex topics or is willing to sit still. It did work out very positively for us, but I could see how that would be a challenge if you have a student that's on the younger side or that, like I said, is not interested in sitting still for a long period of time. I feel like the science books from Memoria Press are much more interesting and more colorful for a younger audience. That being said, Bookshark does have a full-fledged experiment program for their science. So doing those hands-on activities might be something that would be more interesting to your student, and you could put that at the forefront of your studies. That's kind of the overall picture. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I think I covered everything. As for price, that was the one thing I wanted to talk about. So let me grab my tablet, which has shut off. So if you look at the core for Memoria Press, it is $512. And again, you would have to contact the sales office if you're trying to purchase this through the charter version, because I don't know how they would do it. Or you would just add everything to your cart on the charter version. But this does not include the science and social studies. So these are all of the other things. And I didn't show there's little readers that you can get too. These things are all not included in the core package, as well as the morning work, the manner stuff. So the supplemental science and enrichment, which is most of these picture books plus more that I showed you, is $377, and the read aloud set is $396. However, many of these books are available at your local library, and if they're not available there, many are available on YouTube. We did many read aloud books on YouTube when we were not with the charter until I was able to get my hands on these books. So you can make it work, and it's not that challenging. So if you look at just getting the core classical core, it's going to be $512. And if you don't want to use the rod and staff math, you could just remove that, tell the sales office, remove the Christian studies, buy everything else, and then figure out how you're going to get your enrichment materials. Bookshark, kind of similar story in terms of you could piecemeal it. It's $927, but that includes math UC, which is a little bit expensive for a math curriculum because it has these different manipulatives. And it also has a lot of handwriting and other manipulatives. So if you wanted to get those, go for it, but you could also just order individual items if you wanted to. And they do now have payment plans, which Memoria Press does too, if you're interested, where you just pay it over time. But obviously Bookshark is more expensive because you're not buying like these books cost like $5. Whereas if you're getting like an Usborne encyclopedia, this is like, $30 in today's prices. But you do get poetry with Bookshark. There's a Mother Goose book. There is very strong science, a little bit more diversified of read alouds, and they do have a Magic School Bus book now. I feel like they're both very solid options. They are comparable. They're just a little bit different. Obviously, Memoria Press is more classical and Bookshark is more, traditional. So hopefully that gives you guys some helpful information. Hopefully I didn't go back and forth too much and confuse you further, but I just wanted to share our experiences of those two kindergarten programs. And please let me know if you have any questions down below. And I would be honored if you subscribe and like this video. Thanks for watching.